Hello and welcome to Country Life Simple. Today we're going to make something I have never done on this channel before. We're going to make a wheat bread. Yeah, I'm straying away from the rye for once or twice maybe, we'll see, and I will make a wheat bread. So I have to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the taste of just wheat. I find it a bit bland, but that's just me, everybody to their own. And I don't really like the effort. When you have a wheat bread, you have to stretch and fold it, which is just an additional step, I'm quite happy to avoid. So normally I do like a rye wheat bread, which then means I don't have to stretch and fold. I mix, ferment, proof, bake, finished. So today I'm going to give this a go. I have made wheat bread before. I have not made them very often, so I'm by far no expert. And the methodology I'm showing you today is a very simple one. No special tools required except for, I guess, a banneton. That's the only thing I'm going to use, which is something, if you don't bake bread, you don't have one. But I'm not using the Dutch oven. I'm not using anything fancy. I'm not even using the mixer. I'm just using my hands to mix the dough up. And the way I bake it as well, I'll show you that. It's a good trick, and you can bake your rye bread or any other bread that way as well, and it works quite well if you don't have a Dutch oven. But let's get started, I'd say. Alright, so last night I freshened up Otto. Look at that. I mean, it definitely has double. I don't need this anymore. Look at that. And that is 10 grams of starter, 100 grams of rye flour, and 100 grams of water. Smells magnificent. Yes, that is still a rye starter. I'm refusing to have like 3 or 4 different starters in my fridge, although it is. So I did that last night before I went to bed. And then this here I did this morning when I first got up. This is just an autolyse. So basically all I have done is I have put 100 grams of whole wheat flour, 400 grams of baker's flour, and 300 grams of water, and just mixed it with my hands just for the flour to absorb all the water. That doesn't have any structure, nothing. So now we're going to add our other ingredients. We're going to add our sourdough starter. We're going to add 100 grams of the starter. So obviously, like I said, this is a rice starter. It is a bit darker. Wow, 100 grams of starter is quite a lot. And we're also gonna add 10 grams of salt. And then we mix this all up by hand. This is gonna be fun. And we really try to incorporate that starter into the dough. I mean, of course, you can do this with a kitchen machine, but in today's video, I wanted to show you how to do that without a kitchen machine. All right, we let this rest. I'll wash my hands first, but we let this rest covered for another 15 minutes. Alright, I took it out of the bowl. It's easier to do on the surface, and I added a little bit of flour because the dough was quite sticky. So I homogenized the starter Otto with the flour and have formed like a little ball kind of thing. And I'm now going to put it in this dish here for half an hour before I do the first stretch and fold. So temperature wise here, humidity is, oh, I don't know, not as high as yesterday today, but still I would say probably around 60 something percent. I'll have a look in a minute. And temperature 7 o'clock in the morning, probably about 23, 22 degrees. I'm going to put the lid on, and in half an hour we'll do a stretch and fold. Let's have a look. See how it has flattened a little bit? So now we're going to do a stretch and fold. So there's a lot of different techniques, and I'm by no means an expert because I normally bake rye bread, and rye bread doesn't need stretching and folding. There is a methodology, I just got to look it up so I'm not saying anything wrong because I've wrote myself some notes. It's called the coil foil method, where you basically really carefully, see the top of the dough is actually not that sticky, but the bottom of the dough is quite sticky. So you're trying to get the top, roll the top onto the bottom. So I'm going to attempt that now. Like I said, no expert. I'll get you a little bit of a better view. Hopefully this will be all right. So what I'm not going to do, I wet my hands with just cold water so that the dough doesn't stick to my hands. I'm going to wet both of my hands, and I carefully try to lift the dough off, and I can already notice that it is actually not very sticky at all. So, and then I'm going to try to bring this side up and fold this one underneath. Turn this around, do the same thing at the back. Carefully lift it up, fold it underneath. And yeah, that dough is not sticky at all, which is a good sign. And then the sides, same thing. And actually, because it is a very sticky, it does move around in this container quite well. So I don't think it needs, I'm just sort of tucking in the edges here so it, you know, retains a nice shape. So it's now the next morning, it's 7 a.m. I'm heating up the oven to 250 degrees, and it just reached that. So I'm taking up my bread out of the fridge. Carefully, you don't have to use baking paper, but for me this makes it easy to put the dough onto the baking paper and onto the pizza stone. I'll just give it a bit of a pattern. And I'm not very artistic, so my patterns are never really good. Just wipe away some of that excess flour. So in my oven, at the bottom, I've got a stainless steel container, which I just filled with boiling water. Then I've got the pizza stone with the bread, and then I've got a cold tray. I just turned the other way around. Hard to see through the window, unfortunately, but this is how the setup looks like. All right, moment of truth. I took the bread out of the oven after 50 minutes. Ta-da! That's how it looks like. Yep, not great artistic skills, I know. But this has turned out quite nice. And we're going to let it cool down and then start slicing it for breakfast. Okay, time to have some breakfast. Let's cut our beautiful sourdough wheat bread. Oh, super crispy. You ready? Definitely needs the vacuum cleaner afterwards. Oh, that looks good. Look. Yeah, really crispy, really crumbs, nice crumb structure. This is how I like it. I know a lot of people like it with really big air bubbles. Not my kind of bread. You know, I don't want the butter to actually fall through. Look at this. Looks really good.